Billionaire Elon Musk and his Boring Company have big plans for Central Florida. We're going to find out more about that on this episode of The Business Backdrop. Hey there, I'm Richard Bilbao, Editor-in-Chief of the Orlando Business Journal, and welcome to The Business Backdrop, sponsored by Edition Financial, a show that's all about delivering you the intelligence and analysis you need to stay on the cutting edge of the business community. Today's episode, we have a really good topic about tunnels in Central Florida, what it's going to take to make it happen, and we have an expert that's going to dive into those challenges and the reality behind what it takes to build a tunnel. But first, we're going to dive into our top headlines of the week. If you're a fan of Darden restaurants, know that we found out the fate of some of your favorites. There are 28 Bahama Breeze locations in the company, and 14 of them are set to close, so I'm sorry about that. But the other 14 are going to get a new look. They might become an Olive Garden, a Longhorn Steakhouse, or some other brand, and that's what the company's looking for right now. If you're in the market for real estate, probably a good place to look at is some of those restaurants, or if you have a new concept you want to bring to town, there's an opportunity there for you. Staying on the restaurant front, Tavistock Development Company, which you guys might know as behind the Lake Nona development, they spent $4.5 million to lure a Las Vegas restaurant concept to the region. The concept is called Canyonita Restaurant, which if anyone's been to Vegas, I haven't, but if you have, you may have seen it at the Venetian Resort. It's been there for 24 years. So maybe you can let me know if it's worthwhile. And last but not least, if you're a fan of Dave & Buster's, and who's not, they are going to plan their first Brevard County location. Dave & Buster's bought land in Melbourne. The entertainment chain started construction on the 26,000 square foot venue recently, and I hope to see you there, maybe bowling or playing arcade games or something. But we'll be there soon. And that's our headline for the week. And let's roll into our big story, which we're going to drill into a project that could change the way transportation is viewed in Central Florida. And we'll do that right after this from our sponsor.
When it comes to meeting your short and long-term saving goals, you need a financial partner focused on helping you, not their bottom line. At Edition Financial, we see the real you. For more than 85 years, we've helped Central Floridians get the most for their hard-earned savings. Compare our saving rates to the big banks, and we think you'll like what you see. And with convenient money management tools and personalized guidance, we make saving easy. Edition Financial, exceptional banking for everyone since 1937.
And welcome back. And we got a really interesting topic talking about tunnels and what it's going to take to build a tunnel in Central Florida. To join me in this conversation is Patricia Tolley, staff writer with the Orlando Business Journal. Patricia, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. You know, as a tourism reporter, I didn't think we'd be talking about tunnels.
As a fellow tourism reporter, I would guess with monorails and with the gondola system, the Skyliner at Disney, it's not a surprise that we could be talking about. But you're right. You're right. There are some questions that come along with the idea of a tunnel system. So can you, let's jump right into it because I think this is really exciting. In a nutshell, what can you tell us so far that we know about this project?
So right now we know that the district that oversees Universal Orlando Resort, it's in the process of negotiating a contract with Elon Musk, the Boring Company, to build like an innovative transportation system here. So the proposal, it aims to connect guests from Universal Orlando's resort's main campus and its newest park, Epic Universe, which is about 5 miles away. And the Boring Company is known for their Vegas loop. So it's basically an underground tunnel system where they use Teslas to go like kind of back and forth.
So you were the first person that I know of that saw this plan and obviously shared it with the community. What's been the most interesting thing on your part kind of watching this story unfold?
So the most interesting part for me is kind of like how this project can not just only impact people visiting Universal, but just how people get around like all of Orlando's tourism district. So in the bid documents, they have it that the district sent to companies. They kind of outline how they have like a 3-phase project. So with the overall goal of connecting Epic to their main campus off Kirkman Road. So the first phase is through Epic. So it's Helios, the other 2 hotels over there. And then it would do a stop to like the Endless Summer Resorts. Mm-hmm. And then it would go to like City Walk, Hard Rock, Volcano Bay. No, not Volcano Bay, but some of the other areas over there on that side of the campus. But the most important part or most interesting part about it is the potential phase 4 that they put, which would have the system making a stop at the site for the Orange County Convention Center station for the proposed Sunshine Corridor.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a completely separate transportation project that the Universal District is also like very, very involved in, with the main goal of connecting Sunrail trains to iDrive to the Orlando International Airport. And so I spoke in the like people who are experts in both tourism and in transportation, and both has said many, many times that like when people are going to visit places, they don't want to drive. We talked a little bit about Disney. Think about it. When you get to Disney World, you don't have to worry about driving at all. You can get to Epcot, to Disney Springs, to your hotel without even needing a car.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to think about how tourists could move around Orlando, or even us visiting the parks too.
Yeah. Speaking of that, and I think this is a great segue to it. You recently spoke to an expert that knows a lot about what's happening with this tunnel system. They're not specifically with the Boring Company, correct?
I spoke with Brian Gettinger. He is the senior vice president for Glideways. So his company is kind of like the People Mover 2.0 in a way. They're electric self-driving taxis that are part of like a separate roadway system. And it could be built like on a tunnel or above ground or on ground. So it's kind of helps people connect to different parts of the city in a way. Just like the People Mover at Tomorrowland in a weird way.
I know that very well. Yeah.
It's a classic.
It is a classic.
So I spoke with him because he was one of the bidders for the project that Universal District sent out. He didn't get it, but he's super familiar with what they were wanting. And he has also spent over like 15 years of his career working on large infrastructure projects like tunnels. And he even had a brief tenure at the Boring Company.
Nice. Well, it sounds exciting. So how about let's find out what Central Florida's tunnel project may entail from Brian.
The $1 million question we've had as I'm covering this potential project with Universal and Elon Musk, the Boring Company, is can an underground transportation system be built in Orlando? That's the big question we have.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's impossible, right? There have been very complex tunneling projects built. You think about the channel between England and France that went under the ocean, right? You think about the Port Miami tunnel that was built in South Florida. So can it be built? Yes. Is it going to be difficult to build because of the ground conditions? Also, probably yes. I would say like Central Florida and most of Florida, the only tunnel that's there is Port Miami, and that's for a reason, because it's a difficult place to build a tunnel. When I say difficult, I mean that there's geotechnical risk. There's certainly cost and schedule risk. There's risks of ground settlement, water movement, all kinds of things. And that exists on all projects, right? Tunneling's a pretty misunderstood industry. Not a lot of people have seen a tunnel bar machine in their life. They're underground, right? So nobody sees them after they're built. And so there's a lot of misconceptions about what can and can't be done. So it certainly can be done, but it's not an easy project. I would say probably like a 9 out of 10 on the difficulty level because of the ground conditions. Like there's sinkholes in the vicinity of the Orange County Convention Center that are known. And you don't want to hit one of those with a tunnel bar machine, and that can all be mapped, right? These are problems that are solvable, but won't be easy to do.
And you kind of tease a little bit like sinkholes, but what are some of the other challenges a project like this face, or like underground projects that you've worked on maybe that have faced too?
Yeah, tunnels are notorious for having what's called a fat tail distribution curve on cost and schedule. So when you look at big infrastructure projects, it's like when you bid the project, you have an estimate of what you think it's going to cost and how long you think it's going to take. And some projects are very reliable, like solar farms as an example, right? Very reliable, cost and schedule, usually on budget, on schedule, because it's a lot of repeat work, not a lot of ground interaction. Unfortunately, in the history of the United States and infrastructure globally, the more ground interaction you have, the more likely you are to have what we call a fat tail distribution, which means the odds of you going off schedule and off budget, not by 10%, not by 20%, but by 100% or 1,000% are possible. The Big Dig project in Boston is probably the most notorious. It went from like $2 billion to $12 billion in cost. It took years and years longer than it was supposed to take. And that's not necessarily a criticism of who did it, who designed it, who built it. It's just that there's a lot of things you can't expect to find underground. If you do a boring, like typically you investigate a project and say, hey, I'm gonna do a boring every 1,000 feet or every 500 feet, or maybe even every 100 feet along the alignment. And you're going to drill a 3 or 4 inch diameter hole in the ground. And you're going to test the ground conditions, right? How hard is it? How abrasive is it? How much water moves through it? And so you have an idea during that 3-inch hole what's happening, but you don't really know what's going to happen between that hole and the next hole, whether it's 100 feet or 500 feet away, until you actually mine the tunnel. And so there's what's called a differing site condition, which is when a contractor encounters something they didn't expect on a project. Unfortunately, if you talk to owners of built tunnels, those are very common because there's lots of things that may not be expected, right? The ground is harder, the ground's more abrasive, there's more water. We had more settlement impacts than we expected because the ground conditions were different. Like, there are a lot of things that can happen. So I'm a fan of tunnels. I've been in the industry most of my career. Can be done, but there's a lot of challenges in doing it. And that's why tunnels are typically like your infrastructure of last resort because there's more risk associated with them. And they usually cost more to build also.
It's like it's like a lottery scratch off. When you're digging underground, you don't know what you're going to get, essentially.
And you can do all diligence, right? And tools are getting better to help manage that. But yes, it's unknown, right? Like, launching a rocket or flying an airplane, like the air around you, atmosphere is much more predictable than what's underground, right? You just don't know in many cases what's there because not a lot's been built there, in part because people are afraid of doing it. Now, after Hurricane Harvey, I spent a lot of time in Houston convincing folks that, hey, we could build a tunnel to drain the city. And people are like, you can't do that. It's impossible. Houston's got high groundwater. It can't be built. That's not true. Like 100% could be built. Not easy, right? But could be done. And so could we build tunnels in Orlando for a solution like this? And could Glidewaves as a company operate in a tunnel? Sure. We didn't propose that and haven't proposed that on projects in Florida because we think it's not the easiest, lowest cost, fastest way to do it. But it certainly could be done, and depending on the use case.
Wait, so did you build a tunnel in Houston?
Tunnels have been built in Houston, the small ones, but the tunnel that I was talking about was like a 23-mile long, 40-foot diameter tunnel to drain the city. It's being studied still. That they need some money from the federal government to pay for it because I think it's like $4 or $5 billion. But the idea has merit, right? But it didn't have a project not been constructed yet.
And welcome back. Patricia, what was your main takeaway from talking with Brian?
So a lot of these ambitious infrastructure projects get stuck in what he called analysis paralysis. So yes, my main takeaway, because it was fun to say and fun to hear, but also it's just interesting because it can take years of work before a shovel can even hit the ground for something like this proposed tunnel system, or even other large like infrastructure projects that we have seen here and that we have reported on. From having to study the area, to analyzing the cost of it, to even speaking with the public about these plans. Sometimes the projects can just get like stuck in a way. And it feels like we have started reporting on projects here in Central Florida, but we haven't even seen it finished yet. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar from your time, like the proposed pedestrian bridge off I-Drive. I mean, we first reported about it in 2013? I wasn't even in high school yet.
Oh, thank you for that so much.
But there is still more work to be done on these projects like this. So who knows if this proposed tunnel project will get stuck in paralysis analysis.
Right. So, as we kind of wrap up our conversation here, what do we know is coming next for this whole plan?
So what we know is that the Universal District has a meeting on April 8th. The agenda has not been published yet, and the meeting has not been canceled yet. But this could be where we find out if there are any updates on the contract negotiations between the district and the boring company, or just any updates at all. So I'll definitely be there. And if there is something, we'll definitely have it at OBJ.
Oh, I like that. Nice one. Very good. Well, thank you, Patricia, for joining us in the conversation. And we'll talk more about this topic right after this break.
When it comes to meeting your short and long-term saving goals, you need a financial partner focused on helping you, not their bottom line. At Edition Financial, we see the real you. For more than 85 years, we've helped Central Floridians get the most for their hard-earned savings. Compare our saving rates to the big banks, and we think you'll like what you see. And with convenient money management tools and personalized guidance, we make saving easy. Edition Financial, exceptional banking for everyone since 1937.
And a big thank you to Patricia Tolley for joining us on that conversation about tunnels. We learned so much about something that's going to be very important to our region. We're going to have to find out how such a project comes together and how it covers all the challenges and becomes something of a reality in a world where we have monorails and we have gondolas. And so we're really excited to see how that comes through. Well, that's going to be a wrap for our latest episode. So thank you again to our sponsor, Edition Financial, for supporting this show. And thanks again to you for spending another business backdrop with us. So please like, subscribe, rate our show, and tell your friends about the backdrop if you think they will enjoy it as well. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, see you soon.